Hey, welcome in everybody. It's a late night tonight, but I'm happy to be here for you. So, I want to talk about something that's really important, and probably you've been starting to hear about it, but maybe you haven't been told about it by the right people. So, I want to share information with you. And the big theme for me, for all of my lives, is this: you're not failing with your health, you're being failed. And I'm going to go over tonight why you're still sick, why you have so many symptoms, and why it's not getting better no matter how many pills and no matter how many doctor's visits you get or how many supplements you take. We're going to go over what's happening to our health, and I'm going to give you a simple solution to it. So, while you're dropping in, everybody, I see you, Lou. Welcome in, Keith. You guys, thanks for joining me at 1 a.m. here in Eastern time or close to it. Look, as you're hopping in, let me know where you're from. I love to see, because I love this world that we live in right now, where we get to talk to people from around the world, next door, across the nation, whatever. I love seeing where you guys are from. So let me know. Um, and also just say hi. Like, hi, everybody. Okay, so the weight that you have, this excess weight that everybody's getting, especially the weight around the belly, that belly that's poking out, and everybody's like, I don't know what to do about it. I'm thin, but my belly's poking out. I don't drink alcohol, whatever. We're going to go over that. Cravings, salt, sugar, soda, juices, all these cravings that we have that just won't shut off. Um, they are part of what's going on. Cindy, was that you? Cindy? Nope. Keith, I have a friend who's in Oklahoma, so good to see you in here. Thanks for letting me know where you're from. By the way, if you care, I'm in Kentucky. I grew up in North Idaho, moved to Maryland a couple of years ago, and then ended up transferring to Kentucky with my son and my grandson, who holds my soul. So I'm just really happy to have my health back so that I can help take care of this grandson who's so adorable and the soul of my life. So, but that's what's really important. I share my stories so you guys can see what can happen for you. If you can find yourself in my stories, that's why I share them. Not because I need to talk about me, but because I want you guys to understand what can happen when you start to really get your health under control. But look, let's get honest for a second. If you followed all the rules, you've been given all this advice, you've done diets, you've taken the pills, you tried to stay positive, you've done the calorie counting, you've done exercises, you've done the walks, you've done all the stuff, you drank more water, you took berberine, you did all these things, and you're not getting better. Your body still feels inflamed, your energy's drained, and the scale is stuck and just won't budge. It's not you. I want you to know that it's not you. Okay, and we're going to go over what it really is and how we've all been bamboozled and lied to and made sick to profit food companies. Because it's our food that's making us sick, you guys. It's not that you're undisciplined. It's not that you're some broken sort of human being. It's that you've been put into a system. It's like taking a freshwater fish and throwing it in the ocean. How long would that freshwater fish last? Not long. But that's kind of what they've done to our food. They've changed our food so much that our bodies no longer know how to use it. So we're going to go over a lot of that right now. So you go to the doctor, you hear, your labs are normal. There's nothing wrong with you. It's all in your head. If you just tried harder, you'd be better. How many of you guys have heard something similar? I had doctors roll their eyes at me. I worked out 6 days a week, 3 hours a day. I ate clean. I still was suffering. And the doctors still gave me the same advice they give everybody else. Count your calories, exercise more, do better. Do better. If you cared more about yourself, you'd do better. But what if basically we've been given poison? Our food is no longer good for us, and we wonder why we're sick. Nobody's looking at the food and saying, hey, food industry, knock it off. You're making our world sick. Nobody does that. They point the finger at you. And if you guys are tired of it, like I'm tired of it, listen up, because we're going to get there. All right. So again, I'm going to say you're not failing. You've been failed. And you've been failed by a system that's designed to keep you sick, tired, and dependent on the food that they're selling you. So you'll buy more. So you'll be more hungry. So you'll just keep it up. And then guess what happens? The same families, this is a little off the rails here, but the same families are linked for big food and big pharma. Big food makes you sick, big pharma feeds you pills, and there we have a system that's keeping us locked up in ill health. So we want to break out of that. We want to understand it. So I want to help you guys understand really, like, you guys can listen to Casey Means, Callie Means, Dr. Fung, Dr. Bickman. There's so many voices out there, but we're going to simplify it here. Welcome in, Dale. So I'm up late, huh? So let me ask you, are you gaining weight even though you're barely eating? You're doing what they told you. They cut everything back. You're eating enough to feed a bird and you're gaining weight. And then you're like, what the hell am I doing all this for? It's not working. And why isn't anybody really helping me? Okay. It's because of the food, not the calories, not the food that we have. Calories in, calories out. I would love to go over that a little bit tonight, just really briefly. You guys understand that the whole calorie counting premise, they took food and they burnt it, and they took how much energy it took to burn that food. That's a calorie. Kcal. How long does it take to burn that? Well, guess what? Our body doesn't have a fire inside of it. We don't have some fire pit to go throw all this in that's going to burn up the calories. We have hormones, right? We have enzymes. We have a gut microbiome. We have a ton of stuff going on in there other than throwing calories in a fire. Calorie counting is some BS, and we got to get over it. That's not the way to do it. And I'm going to show you how to do it in a minute. That's going to build your metabolism instead of breaking it down. Hear me really clearly. Every time they tell you to eat smaller meals and eat every 2 hours, you're killing your metabolism. And if you want to know why, say me in the, or say why in the chat. Let me know if you want to know why that calorie counting is BS and it's just an old thing that we can't use. Tell me if you want to know that, and I'll bring it to you. Okay. So if you're waking up, why? Thank you. Okay. So hormones really regulate what we do. You guys, it's not just about the calories. It's about the nutrients. It's about how our body uses it. It's about how our metabolism runs. When we're eating every 2 hours, we're spiking one particular hormone, and that hormone is called insulin. And it's really the big daddy hormone for everything, but especially our metabolism. And when that hormone is out and extremely present, no other hormone can override it. Except for maybe cortisol. They kind of like work in tandem together. But insulin really is supposed to be there to take the food you eat, that's energy, and deliver that energy, glucose, sugar, whatever you want to call it, same thing, from your bloodstream into your cells. Insulin carries that to the cell, nice little package, and says, I have some energy for you. And it knocks on the door, and the cell opens up and lets the energy in, and it starts doing all the things it's supposed to do. But with insulin resistance, insulin is like a bully, and all the cells on the playground are tired of this bully, and so they won't open their door anymore. So now, even though we need energy in our cells, in our liver cells, in our kidney cells, in our heart cells, in our gut cells, in our brain cells, in our skin cells, in our hair cells, every cell in the body needs insulin to deliver that energy, but it's not responding. And we're going to go over why. So calories, they count. I'm not going to say they don't. But if you're focused on counting calories and not on the timing of your eating and the hormones, how they're impacting your hormones, you're not really going to get anywhere for very long. And all of that restricted calorie counting, in about 4 weeks of going, say, from 2,000 calories a day, which is a typical adult that's active, take it from 2,000 calories a day down to 1,500 calories a day. You might lose some weight. You might start feeling better for a little while, right? Kind of shocked your body. But then your body goes, hey, wait, this chick, she's only giving me 1,500 calories and I require 2,000. I better slow down. I better slow down all the processes because I'm not getting enough energy for my needs. So now your metabolism downregulates. Okay, now your metabolism was set from 2,000 down to 1,500. And then it stops working. So you cut your calories again. And now you're down to 1,000 calories. Guess what? Another 4 weeks, your metabolism is now reset. The baseline is set at 1,000 calories. And we've forgotten to deal with the hormones. But your metabolism says, all I can do, I've got to slow everything down. My energy needs have to come down. I can't get so excited. I can't use up so much energy because I'm only getting 1,000 calories in. And that's not good for my body. So let's talk about insulin a little bit. Insulin is a delivery system, right? And it's a lock and key that opens your cell door, but it also is what we call anabolic. That means it wants things to grow. Insulin's whole purpose is to get things to grow. It's delivering energy. It's trying to get you to grow. It's trying to get your cells to respond and regenerate and grow. So if its purpose is to make things grow and it's present, highly present in your bloodstream, and I'm going to tell you why it's highly present in your bloodstream, it's never going to let you break stuff down, fat, old cells that need to go away. Your gut's not going to regenerate because insulin is holding on to that. And guess what? Pregnant women become a bit insulin resistant because the body is trying to take that energy and store it away for this baby she's growing. So she becomes resistant to the insulin so the baby can get all that. Insulin is an amazing hormone. It does a great job for us. It affects our sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA. It affects our thyroid hormones, our T4, our T3, our free triiothyroidine, and it affects our cortisol. It affects our leptin, our ghrelin. It regulates all of those based on what it's doing. So we need to understand, we've got to peel back all the layers, right? And get to that root, that core. It's like peeling back an onion, and you get to this little core in the middle after you peel back all these layers. That's what we want to do with insulin. And it's so much simpler than anybody's making it out to be. You guys, let's talk about it. Some people will say it's not about the sugar because what they're pointing to is that it is about the insulin. But guess what drives insulin up? Sugar, glucose, carbohydrates. That's what drives insulin higher. So every time you eat, you're spiking your insulin. Every time you eat, and your body's going through this whole process, and it's converting all of that food and taking it down through your intestines, and it's pushing it through your liver to break everything down. Now we have sugar in our bloodstream. I don't care whether you're eating red meat or chicken or vegetables and fruits, but especially rice, pasta, breads, packaged foods, right? Every bite you eat, with the exception of one type of food, spikes your insulin. Do you guys want to know, do you guys know what the macronutrients are and why they're important? I would love to share this with you right now. So I'm going to. I want to know, does you guys say macros? Just say macros if you want me to go over why and what foods are spiking your insulin and how, or what food groups you should be focusing on and limiting so that you can start to get healthy. If you guys want to know that, put macro in, but otherwise I'll move on. So let's go back over this. You're gaining weight, even though you're barely eating. Macro, perfect. I'll come back to that. Do you wake up tired even after you've slept for 8 hours? You go to bed tired, you don't sleep well, and you wake up tired. Guys, I'm missing some messages. You guys popped off over on YouTube. Welcome in, everybody. Jazz, Big Papa. Big Papa. Hormones. I don't want you to be inappropriate or you'll get blocked. Let's be real. I don't mind talking about hormones, but let's not be out of line. So a lot of doctors give people good information. A lot of people also don't want to listen. Jazz. Some doctors, so let's talk about that. Then I'm going to come back to macros. I want you to understand something. I'm going to kind of break the mold right here. I'm going to break past what we were talking about, but understand this, that our food and insulin is causing 95% of the disease and disorders we have today. 95%. 95 of the things that we're suffering with are weight, brain fog, Alzheimer's, deteriorating joints, bad skin, a bloated belly, IBS, Crohn's. All of these things are linked to insulin resistance. So yeah, a lot of doctors, and I worked for doctors. Let's talk about that. I worked for doctors for years. I was a medical assistant. I was the one who drew your blood. I was the one who took your vitals. I was the one who came in and gave you the education the doctor wanted you to have. So I worked for a number of doctors in hormone clinics, in infectious disease, in general practice, in urgent care, and none of these doctors understood nutrition. Because the truth is, the doctors are offered a nutrition class, but 80% of our doctors never have one nutrition class in all of their schooling. Is that crazy? If we know that food is driving our insulin and insulin is driving our illness, and our doctors don't know anything but give you a pill, and they certainly don't know nutrition, there's a problem. So I'm not saying doctors are bad. I have some really great friends who are doctors, right? But when it comes to this, what you need to understand is doctors are forced into specialties. They're no longer the old farm town doc who just comes out and takes care of everything. Your general practitioner looks at it and goes, oh, this is a liver problem. I'm going to send them there. This is a kidney problem. I'm going to send them there. This is a skin problem. I'm going to send them there. But your general practitioner is just like a referralist now, or giving you medications. And by the way, I had 2 family members who worked for Big Pharma. It's kind of know what's going on there. I worked for doctors who allowed Big Pharma in their offices. I worked for doctors who wouldn't allow them in, and I didn't understand then, but I understand now. So GLUT4 and exercise. Sure, Jazz, GLUT4 is just another pathway in for energy to get in your system. So when you're in a fasted state, and I'll go over fasting in a little bit, when you're in a fasted state, your insulin can come back up or your sugars can come back up. I've tested it on myself. I did a 10-day fast and my blood sugars would go up and down. 60 on the low, 120 on the high, even though I hadn't put any food in my face. What happens to those sugars when you're fasting and insulin isn't rising? GLUT4 is a backdoor for energy to get in your cells. Insulin is the primary one. We don't run off of GLUT4. It's like an emergency system, okay? So exercise is extremely important. In fact, one of the most metabolically active tissues we have on our body is our skeletal muscle. So working out is important. Doesn't mean you have to go do, like I was a world champion powerlifter. You don't have to go do heavy deadlifts and squats. Walk. There's tons and tons. I see all these things, videos on YouTube, like Tai Chi, Qigong, all of these exercises that you can do with body weight at home and a chair. Do that. You don't have to make it complicated, but move your damn body every day. If you're not moving your body, you're becoming insulin resistant because your body's not using. So gluconeogenesis, making glucose from fat, right? So when you're burning fat, your body is going through gluconeogenesis, breaking the fat down, which fat is packets of glucose that have been stored. Okay, so we break that down and we use it for energy. But mindlessly scrolling has caught your attention. Maxim, welcome in. So everyone knows macros. No, they don't. Someone asked. So we're going to talk about it. You know what? Before I started powerlifting, I didn't know macros. Jazz, that's a big assumption and most people don't. And you guys, here's the thing. I don't want anybody feeling bad. The truth is we don't know what we don't know until someone tells us what we don't know. So we're going to talk about macros because somebody asked. So you have 3 macros, Jazz, you got it. Carbs, protein, and fats. Now, carbs and protein will spike your insulin. Yes, protein will spike your insulin. They'll spike it about half as much as carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are your fruits, your vegetables, your grains, your breads, your pastas, right? So you're either eating protein, carbohydrates, or fats. And there are some instances where they're combined, like protein and fats are often combined. Carbohydrates are often combined with fiber, which is just a non-digestible carbohydrate. But the 3 big nutrients in your food is carbohydrates, protein, and fats. Now, when it comes to fats, there's a couple of things I want to talk about with macros. Fats very, very minimally spike your insulin. So if you're fasting, do you know that you can have a couple of bites of avocado? You could have an olive. You could have coconut oil and be safe in your fast as long as you're not overdoing it, because it doesn't really spike your insulin and it supports your ketones and it helps you get used to using fat for fuel. So fats, how many of you guys have been told fats are bad for you, right? Low fat. How you look at the shelves right now and there's so much. So that's not what I'm talking about tonight, Jazz, but I would be more than happy to talk about GLUT4 tomorrow. It's not my area of expertise, but yeah, we need to exercise. And you're right, GLUT4 transporters increase in number when you exercise, but they also increase when you're fasting. So combine fasting and exercise. Now you have some magic. When I trained to become a world champion, I almost always, I would say more than 90% of the time, trained fasted. And I got extremely strong. Okay. So, which part were you told? I lose track of myself. Okay. So, fats don't spike your insulin, protein and carbohydrates do. The other interesting thing is this: the thing that's most satiating, meaning it keeps you fullest the longest, is protein. Um, when you eat fats, it's not as satiating as protein, but it doesn't spike your insulin. So we have this scale, right? We have protein, spikes your insulin, but keeps you really full. We have fats that don't spike your insulin, keep you less full than protein. Carbohydrates spike your insulin the highest, and they keep you full the least, especially when there's no fiber attached. Maxim says, you recently developed rheumatoid arthritis way earlier than my uncles and aunt, and I'm learning. Yeah, yeah. So, Maxim, I had osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. I've lost 3 joints. I'm 61, and in my 50s, I lost a knee, had to have it replaced. Both hips have been replaced, and my right knee was supposed to be replaced. So, we're going to talk about that really briefly. My right knee, after 4 years of doing this system, no longer needs to be replaced. In fact, the meniscus in that knee has leveled out and grown back. How many of you guys know that you can regenerate your joints in the right conditions? Your body will regenerate joints, even your meniscus, even your labrum. It will regenerate that if you give it the right environment. Osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis especially, is a lot of inflammation, and insulin resistance causes a lot of inflammation. So when you snack on peanuts, you feel satisfied, but you have to be careful because peanuts are not a pure protein. They're a lot more carbohydrates. Yeah. So Maxim, I want to give you hope. So in 2021, my right knee was supposed to be replaced. The meniscus on the lateral, the lateral side was about half as thick as it should be, and internally on the medial side, it was so thin that it was almost gone. I started the system, and then I was supposed to have my knee replaced the next year. I had even had cortisol shots, and they weren't working. My knee now is normal in the meniscus, doesn't pop, doesn't click, doesn't hurt, doesn't go out of joint, none of it. Okay, it's all been healed over 4 years. And in fact, that popping, clicking, slipping of my knee stopped within the first year, as that meniscus had the time and space to grow back. Yes. The GLUT4 is there to increase glucose uptake into muscle cells. So if you're fasting and you're creating glucose in your system and you're not eating, the GLUT4 will kick in then too. Okay, so your knee can get better. Mine certainly did. I don't have to have a knee replacement. It's been 3 years since I was told I was supposed to have it, because the left one was already replaced. And now it doesn't need replaced. The only joints that hurt me are the metal joints, because they're not going to regenerate and they go bad. But you can get better. And I have a number of people who have. I have people who had stage 3 kidney disease who've gotten better. I've had people with liver disease starting to have non-alcoholic fatty liver and signs of cirrhosis who've gotten better. I've had women and men with Hashimoto's who've gotten their thyroid back under control, men with low testosterone who've gotten their testosterone back. Erectile dysfunction is no longer bothering them. Women with PCOS who are now not concerned with their PCOS, not having irregular and painful periods, being able to have children that they told they would never have. So it works really well. Crohn's disease is that diabetes does not cause IBD, but there is a link association. So diabetes Jazz, you're getting into a place that frustrates the heck out of me. There's a genetic component, right? But diabetes is not simply genetic. Yeah, you have different markers, and then you add the wrong nutrients, now you become diabetic. Insulin resistance is the root of diabetes. Insulin resistance also causes IBS because of the gut inflammation and the gut microbiome disruption that goes on. There's a whole lot of things that are happening when you have insulin resistance. You have too much sugar, your gut microbiome is getting destroyed, and you have negative gut microbiome. Now you have a gut, stomach, and intestines that are inflamed and full of the wrong microbiome. And yes, that causes IBS. I had it bad. If I get a hold of too much sugar or seed oils, I will still have reoccurrences of it. But on a day to day, following the protocol I follow, I don't suffer with that. Normal, not having the urgent run to the restroom, devastating issues that come with IBS. So I'm native. I call it native gut. There is a small genetic link. But if it was just a genetic link, Jazz, why is it that when I change my food, it resolves? Why is it that so many people who are not native have IBS, Crohn's, all of these things? Misaligned nutrient intake. So when we look at nutrient intake, what I want you to understand too is when you have insulin resistance, your cells are not opening. So they're not just not receiving sugar, they're not getting in the nutrients that you need. So in an insulin resistant state, you're losing muscle and you're not taking up nutrients that you need. The micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, okay, enzymes, you're not getting those. Plus, you guys, little caveat here, when we're drinking and eating so many soft foods, we're not chewing. Guess what? We should chew. Our jaws should be strong. When we chew, it creates digestive enzymes that start to help break down our food and help our gut microbiome. When we're drinking, everything, shakes, sodas, smoothies, we're not creating those enzymes, and it's making the problem worse. Just a little sidebar. Okay, so you guys are amazing over here. Maxim, message me. I'm going to put a link in. Message me, and let's have a chat. I really want to help you out and help you understand. Here's a little page about on Facebook, YouTube, all you lovelies out there on other channels. It kind of explains what I'm going to talk about. There's an informative video on there, my story, whatever, and a way to get a hold of me if you want to just chat. Look, I'm not pressured. This is your health, your journey, your chance, right? So if you think this aligns with you, great. I want to help you. If it doesn't, find something that does. But I'm going to tell you, this is helping thousands of people around the world. So, by the way, it is science-backed and it is produced by a scientific company. We're one of the only companies in the world, or I believe the only company, that has 18 real food products in the PDR, Prescriber's Digital Reference. That's how strong the backing for this is. We're going to go over it. So I've kind of lost track of where we're at. So many questions, and I love it. And I'm missing everybody here on YouTube or on TikTok. All right, welcome in, Carrie. I see you. Welcome in, everybody. It's on Facebook, YouTube. I cannot see you when you hop in. So say hi and I'll say hi back, but I cannot see you like I see on TikTok. Okay, so bulging belly. Symptoms of insulin resistance. Let's go there. Got that bulging belly? Heavy or thin? Your belly's poking out, looks bloated all the time. Women, you think people are asking if you're pregnant and you're not. Insulin resistance, that's the number one sign. It's visceral fat being stored under the muscle wall of the belly. You have two different types of fat. I haven't talked about this for a long time. Visceral fat and subcutaneous fat. Visceral fat has mitochondria in it, and it's brown. It's made to cushion and warm your organs. That's why it's under the muscle wall of the belly. The subcutaneous fat is more storage, and it's the lumpy, bumpy stuff that's under the skin on top of the muscle and sometimes gets in the muscle and whatnot. But insulin resistance causes you to pack on more of that visceral fat. So more of the fat is getting stored in your belly area. Okay. IBD is different than IBS, yes. And so stool, you're talking about something else, Jazz, and I would love to have a conversation, but that's not what I'm here for tonight. Um, but yeah, I've been with doctors who've done stool replacement, but guess what? When your intestines are so overrun with negative bacteria, the majority of people can get better by understanding what's going on with their microbiome. There's a small percentage of people who absolutely they do have something genetic. No, it's not everybody. That's why I said 95% of diseases and disorders. In fact, 95% of blood pressure problems and 80% of heart diseases are related back to insulin resistance. So if we look at 95% of blood pressure, 130 over 80 or higher, is um, linked back to insulin resistance, and 80% of cardiovascular deaths are linked to high blood pressure, we have a damning report for insulin, right? So, do I have a menu for sugar control? So, if you go to, I'm not sure if it's on my link tree now. I have a couple of resources that are free for you guys. There is a foods list on my link tree in my TikTok. If you go to my profile, there's a place to order. There should be a 6 simple steps to managing your insulin resistance. I'll go over those too. And there should be a food list that you can download for free. Okay. Those are all free to you guys. I want you to get better. So yeah, go find that. And if you can't find it, inbox me after this live and I'll make sure you get it. Okay. But yes, there's a food list. So really what you want, I'm gonna make it really simple. There's tons of food lists out there. What you want to pay attention to, you can get my food list, make it simple, but you want low glycemic foods. Things like yeasts, yeah. So I'm not as versed on all of the gut bacteria. There's bacteria that help cause inflammation, that help cause things like yeast infections. That's negative gut bacteria. We need both. We need both sides of bacteria. It's not like we want all one type of bacteria and not the other. But what's happening, Jazz, is that in today's world, the positive bacteria that we have in our gut that make things like propionate, acetate, and butyrate, which are all very extremely important to us, especially butyrate in our immune system, those are made by what I call the positive gut bacteria. They're destroyed by the negative gut bacteria. Butyrate, propionate, and acetate are destroyed by those negative gut bacteria, and things like yeast grow instead. Okay, so yeah, gram-negative bacteria, but any bacteria that's causing harm to your body when it's overgrown is what I'm going to call negative. The other bacteria is very beneficial for us, and we need to feed the good bacteria. So guess what? What I call good bacteria is fed by fiber. What I call bad bacteria is fed by sugar. Okay, you're going to get it. You're going to get it. Fiber is the missing key. I'm just going to jump straight to that. You guys, if you're eating very little but still gaining, you're not getting in enough fiber. And I have made videos that I say an essential nutrient, and I say fiber is an essential nutrient. Now, it's not essential in the way that like vitamin D and vitamin C and vitamin K and some of the minerals and stuff that we need are essential. It's essential in a very different way, because the only thing that feeds those gut bacteria that creates those butyrate, propionate, and acetate are fed by fiber. So if you want a healthy gut, you've got to have some of those things in your gut. I'm going to break free and talk a little bit about carnivore. I eat carnivoristic. I eat a ton of meat. I eat a smaller amounts of fruits and vegetables, and I go off and on about whether I have other treats or not, and I work on that. But when I look at people who are eating only meat, the danger is that you're desensitizing your body to things that it needs. And it then no longer is able to make some of these enzymes in the way that it should, and your body starts to suffer. It may feel better for a while, but then guess what? If you ever eliminate too much food and then you try to go back and be like, oh, I'm tired of eating strip steak and butter, I'm going to have a piece of cake. You're going to get really ill because your body doesn't know what to do. Okay. The way I believe and coach is I want you to eat real food. I want you to understand what good food is and what bad food is. And I want you to have a real life. We are not here to suffer all day, every day. And so we don't want to suffer because we're getting the wrong foods in. And we don't want to suffer because we're so regulated that we just can't see how we're going to survive the rest of our life, and we break down and give up. Okay. I want a realistic path for everybody, and it can be done. Okay. So again, I'm not a specialist on bacteria. Specifically, I'm not a scientist on bacteria. So you're getting into an area that, Jazz, I absolutely am not as versed on. Okay. So I do know, in listening to guys like Fong and Bickman and Dr. Pradeep and a number of others, the importance of gut bacteria, and that fiber is what feeds the bacteria that's giving us health. Okay. So that's where we're going to stick. I can't get into that because I'm just not versed enough to have a deep conversation like you're wanting to have on bacteria. I talk a lot about insulin resistance in a broad sense, not a doctor. I want you guys to understand this. I am a woman who worked for doctors. I'm pretty damn smart, by the way. I'm pretty damn smart. I'm just going to come out. I admit that. I denied it for years, but I'm not a doctor. I'm just a woman who got really sick. And when I took all of my symptoms in and all of my stuff in and went to the doctors and said, all of this pages of stuff is going wrong with me. All of the symptoms, my teeth and gums are bleeding. My eyesight's failing. My hair is falling out. My skin is breaking out. And I have skin tags and I have dark skin colors. And I have all this excess fat, and I have a belly that's bloating, and I have kidneys that are failing, and I have a liver that's failing, and I'm tired all the time, and I have headaches, and I'm hungry all the time, and I'm thirsty all the time. And I don't know how I can make it. And I'm depressed. Okay. None of those doctors helped. In fact, one of the doctors, we were like golden girls sharing an apartment together. She's now in Washington State and I'm in Kentucky. She tried to help me for years and just couldn't seem to help. No matter how many pills she threw at me, no matter how many regimens she threw at me, and I did them. Look, I was a world champion. I know how to follow a plan. I did. And I wasn't getting better. In fact, one doctor, Maxim, this whole conversation will be on YouTube. Come back tomorrow and finish listening to it. Yeah. Thank you. We'll talk to you later, Maxim. Thanks for jumping in. Okay, so she couldn't help, right? She couldn't help. One doctor called me into her office after we did saliva tests. We did urine tests. We did blood tests. I used to they call vampire. I love to draw blood. Haven't done it for a few years, but I love, there's an art and I love to do it. I drew my own blood a lot, but that doctor, after we ran all of those tests, after we had all of this data, after we compiled all of this stuff, because I was kind of her guinea pig for what were we going to do in her clinic. And she called me in at the end of it and said, "You have the worst metabolic type. Hey, Max." And said, "I cannot help you. There's nothing I can do. You're always going to be fat. You're always going to be tired. You're always going to be sick. And I can't help you." And she almost had tears in her eyes. So when we talk about doctors, when we talk about some of this stuff, you guys, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way than a doctor throwing pills at you and then telling you that they can't help you. Just take the pills and hold on until you die, because that's what's going to happen. Okay. And I'm not supposed to use that word, but I did. All right. The truth is, our food is what's making us sick. So I'm going to move on and we're going to get to that. All right. When we're eating these highly processed foods, and it's not even just the highly processed foods. I was watching I'm always watching vlogs and podcasts and stuff, but there was a woman on there talking about organic foods and how it's a marketing ploy, because organic foods are not really that much better than our regular foods. In fact, sometimes they're much worse for us. But if you're thinking that it's just the packaged foods that are making you sick, no. When we look at fruits, vegetables, they are markedly different than when I was a child. I went back to my family home in Montana where we had an old heirloom blueberry, raspberry little patch, right? We had a garden. And I went back and I started looking at the raspberries, and the biggest raspberry was not even as big as the tip of my pinky. And yet I go get a box of raspberries at the store now, and they're about the size of my thumb. So if raspberries are supposed to be the size of your pinky, and we're getting ones that they're the size of your thumb, something changed. And what did they change? You guys, we're going to talk about fiber a lot, because what they've done is they've genetically modified and stripped fiber out of our foods. Now, why would they do that? Does anybody know why they took fiber out of our foods? Does anybody know why? Put a 1 in the chat if you think you know why, and then tell me why. And this is not a test or to make anyone look stupid. I want to educate. I want you guys to understand. And so I want to know who knows and who doesn't, so I can spend my time where it's important. Or say fiber if you want to know why they took fiber out of our food, because I think that's important to understand. I think it's important because that taking fiber out of our food and then telling us that fats were bad for us was where our health started changing. If we look back, Ansel Keys, it's been about 70 years now, said that fats were causing heart disease. Do you know what really causes heart disease? Too much sugar. Eat more. Jazz, that's one of the reasons, right? Fiber fills you up. Have you noticed that? It's not more digestible food. Okay, go ahead, keep talking, Jazz. I'm digging what you're saying. And I know I used to hate this, you guys. When I was in school, I would raise my hand all the time, and the teacher would like, Misha, put your hand down, let somebody else answer. But I also felt like, oh my God, he's asking a question. Did I understand it right? Am I going to give the right answer? Is this right? But so don't feel that way. When they took fiber out, one of the big reasons they took fiber out is for shelf life. Your fruits and vegetables and your packaged foods will deteriorate faster. The higher fiber content that your fruits and vegetables are, the quicker they're going to shrivel up and mold and go away. We don't live in a world we want everything quick, but we want it to be there forever. So they took fiber out. Makes stuff more shelf stable. You know, your bread has less fiber and more chemicals to keep it in that package. Why does your bread sit on the shelf for 2 weeks at home and never go moldy? Does that tell you something? Right? Right, because it keeps it shelf stable. But yes, there's the other part, Jazz. You're absolutely right with that, because when they take fiber out, it's less satiating. Fiber, the right kinds of fiber, soluble fibers, will expand in your gut and help you feel full. So you'll eat less. The food will stick with you longer. So you're going to stay fuller longer. But they've taken it away. Now you go in the store and you pick up a box of cereal. You pick up any mix or packaged food or of grains or whatever, and it says high fiber or 25% more fiber. And all that means is that it's higher in fiber than the food that's next to it. But now here's the next thing, Jazz. What did they put? If they took fiber out because it made food less shelf stable, but everybody's catching on that we need fiber. So now the food industry says, ooh, we got this on lock. We're going to fool them again. What did they put back in to increase the fiber in the foods that they're feeding us? Does anybody know what that fiber in your high fiber food is? Do you know? Well, I wish I had a bucket of it right now. It's wood pulp, sawdust. And you know what they did? They renamed it. You're not going to buy a box of cereal that says high fiber. We filled it up with sawdust. 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 Wood is what's in your food, and they're calling it higher fiber. And you know what they called it? They called it cellulose. So it sounds different than wood pulp. How many of you guys knew that cellulose, in this instance, is wood fibers? And how many of you think that wood fibers, fiber from a tree, from a wood, from a stump, is going to help your gut microbiome, is going to help fill you up, is going to do anything for your body? It doesn't. If it did, we would be out eating trees. And we're not. But the food industry, these industries are really good at taking waste and selling it to you as gold, right? Ooh, we have this or we have all this food waste that's going on. Corn stalks, the cob off of corn after we've stripped all the corn out, these extra seeds and stuff that are just laying around and going to waste. Rockefeller said, hey, let's run it through a process and see what we can do. And they made machine oil out of the wasted food. They drenched it with hexane and they high pressure pressed it, and then they bleached it to make oil that had a flash point high enough to be run through a machine. And it stinks. So all of those, I want you guys to remember this. When you go into the store and you look at all those seed oils that say heart healthy, bullshit. Heart healthy, bullshit. Avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, butter, ghee, your egg yolks, meat fat. Those are healthy fats. And before I finish with the bullshit part, understand that dietary fat does not translate to biological fat. Sugar creates that fat because it's stored sugar. Fat, your hormones need fat, your cell membranes need fat. We just don't need the inflammatory machine oils soaked in hexane and drenched in bleach and then added perfumes because they stink so bad. When you go into the store and you look at those seed oils and they're in a clear plastic bottle, now we have another problem. So we have hexane, we have bleach, and we have perfume. Okay, we have a high flash point, right? So it can be used over and over and over again in the restaurant until it tastes rancid. Those oils don't go rancid really very easily because they've been so highly processed. Olive oil, maybe 6 months in the bottle once you've opened it. Same with avocado oil, because it goes bad. It should be in a dark green or brown glass bottle. Coconut oil is a little different. But if you're buying an oil, I don't care if it says olive oil on it. If it's in a clear plastic bottle or a light colored plastic bottle, avoid it like the plague. Those oils, because of detergents, cleansers, perfumes, cause inflammation in your body. When inflammation goes up in your body, your cells get distressed. And they're like, oh, we can't take more energy in. Insulin, you're not welcome, because if we get more energy in, these cells are going to explode because they're so sick and inflamed right now. Your cells shut down when they're inflamed, and they won't let more energy in because they're self-protecting. Avoid those oils. Now, when we go back to the IBS, IBD stuff, when I have seed oils, if I go out to eat and I get to a restaurant that I'm, I don't always check, you guys. I'm not always careful as I should be. But so they named, right? But so Jazz, the problem is that they called this wood pulp cellulose so that it would fit in, right? So that wouldn't trigger us to think that it was something different. That's the point. So seed oils are bad. Fiber has been stripped out. So those two things. And then when Ansel Keys said fat was bad for us, so that it was causing heart disease, there was no scientific data behind that. It was a presupposition. He just thought this could be a thing. And so he made a thesis that, okay, this is the thing. And so they started to study it. But over the years, they've realized that that was wrong. There was no scientific data behind that. So now we have a food system that said, okay, we've told everybody that fat's bad, and we know that fat keeps people full, and we know that fat feeds people's hormones and lets them be healthy, and we know that fat actually really does a good job for us, but it also keeps us full, so we're going to strip it out, okay? And we want food to be shelf stable, so we're going to strip the fiber out. What are we putting back in when we strip out fat? Because fat also flavors food a lot. Fat's what gives, if you've ever had a steak, I'm going to tell you, the next time you go buy a steak, hey, Tanya Lee, stop buying steaks with all the fat cut off. Why is Wagyu beef so rich? And because it's marbled with a ton of fat. Fat gives food flavor. Anyway, what did they put back in to make our food flavorful? but not keep us full and keep us hungry. Sugar, yes, additives, they're added all kinds of junk. When I was going back to the oils, the other things, so detergents, bleaches, perfumes, but now it's in this plastic bottle, and guess what happens? Now we're getting microplastics. What do microplastics do? They're causing estrogen and other hormone problems. So we're not going to get away from it entirely, but we need to do the best we can where we can. Stop buying the seed oils in plastic bottles. All the way around, they're just not good for you. Okay? They're just not good for you. All right, so if we know that too much sugar is causing too much insulin, and too much insulin is causing our cells to shut down, most of our cells shut down and say no. Some of the cells take up too much, and this is my favorite part of this, because although they call it insulin resistance, it's an insulin dysfunction. A lot of cells start to shut down. They don't take in the insulin. Your skin cells will take in too much because there's all this sugar floating around in the bloodstream, and most of the body's like, nope, don't want you around, not taking you in. And then there's parts of the body that are like, hey, I haven't gotten any attention, I'll take it. Well, those cells are keratinocytes that build the structure of your skin, and then you end up with overgrowth of skin, and so it pops out like little skin tags. I had them on my neck, I was getting them on my eyes, I had them under my arms and in my groin. Okay. But those cells are like, party over here. That's right, Tanya. So 3 months after doing the protocol we're going to talk about, my skin tags were all gone. So Jazz, you could say that it was genetics, you could say that it was age, but all that's bullshit. That's the easy answer out for them not wanting to deal with insulin resistance and tell you the truth, because guess what? Big pharma, big food does not want these doctors to tell you to eat a little bit less, to eat better foods, to stay satiated, to eat maybe 2 meals a day, put the fork down, step away from the table, and you'll feel a little better. Again, it's not about calorie restriction. When I have a meal, I have a meal. I eat till I'm full. I just pay attention to the fact that I'm getting protein and fats in and good fiber. And I'm doing much better. 4 years ago, I couldn't get up and down off the floor. Do you know what it was like to try and go through the required training for CPR and have to kneel on the floor when your knees are bare for tissue inside? It's painful. It's painful. I couldn't get up and down off the floor. I couldn't kneel. I can kneel now. I crawl around on the floor, wrestle with my grandson. Crazy. Who says that you can get that back at 61? I do. The Maillard reaction, the sugar binds with proteins in skin. Yes, absolutely, Jazz. So too much sugar absolutely causes more wrinkling, more laxity in your skin. Guess what else happens? When you have sugar like that, one of the other cells that I love to talk about that takes in too much insulin and sugar are your endothelial cells. And what are those? So when you look at your blood vessels, there's layers to your blood vessels. And I wish I had a picture pulled up. The innermost layer of your blood vessels is called the endothelium. Okay. That layer is fairly thin and it should be flexible. Your blood vessels, and even like your esophagus, collapses and opens, collapses and opens. Okay. That's what your blood vessels should do. They shouldn't be huge. They should have a good space in the middle. They should be able to collapse, and they should be able to open as blood is pumping. Or say your cortisol goes up and you have a lot of blood pumping. Your blood vessels should open up wide so that blood can get where it's going. But in the presence of insulin resistance, those cells are taking up too much. So now what happens is that lining in your blood vessels gets really thick. So now instead of having an opening like this, so let's talk about like a fire hose and a garden hose. Your blood vessels, this is an exaggeration, but say your blood vessels are the size of a fire hose normally, right? The endothelium starts to get really thick, and that narrows down that inner space in your blood vessels, and now that makes the blood vessels too tight and the endothelium too thick. But also what happens is the endothelium starts to get scarred and cause holes, and that's when cholesterol gets in those holes. I can talk about that. And it causes those blockages in your blood vessels. But that thickened endothelium also starts to have problems. And there's only certain components that can cross that. That's also your blood-brain barrier. The endothelium is your blood-brain barrier. When it gets too thick and diseased, now it doesn't produce nitric oxide like it should, so it can't open and close, open and close, open and close. It just stays closed all the time. It's tight and it's restricted, and your blood pressure is going up. And then you're not getting nutrients that are supposed to get to your brain through to your brain because that endothelium is dysfunctioning. Jazz. Sugar causes the collagen fibers to cross-link, causes that fine, delicate wrinkling. Yes, yes. So there are some cells that will take in too much. Now, as the endothelium is taking in too much and those blood vessels are getting restricted, not only is your blood pressure going up, mine was 180 over 150 every single day. Yes, yes. So there's 5 ways, and I've been wanting to talk about this forever. I love, because I had such high blood pressure and thought I was going to be gone in a few years because of it. So when I learned what was happening, and my doctor, by the way, is shocked because she tried for years to overcome my blood pressure and didn't. And this protocol solved it in less than a year. No medications. I don't take any prescription medications, not one single prescription medication. But so, Tanya Lee, your endothelium gets thicker. It won't produce nitric oxide, so it can't open and close. You start producing more cortisol, so your heart's pumping faster. Now you're trying to pump more blood through this lining that's just too tight. Your kidneys cannot produce aldosterone in the manner that it's supposed to, and aldosterone regulates your sugar and not your sugar, your salt and your water. So where salt goes, water goes. When your kidneys can't off gas or offload or get rid of salt like it's supposed to, guess what? You're retaining more water. So you get inflammation, you get swollen joints and knees and elbows and wrists and like, you guys, 3 months into this, I sat down. It was summertime. I had shorts on. I looked down at my knees and I was like, I can see my kneecaps. Before, they looked like big grapefruits because they were so swollen. I can see my kneecaps again. Inflammation went down. Now, that happened as my kidneys started functioning properly and were getting rid of salt when they were supposed to and holding on to proper amounts of water. So when doctors say, watch your salt for your blood pressure, yeah, that's some reality. But wouldn't it be better if we actually looked at the root of it and said, hey, watch your sugar. Get more fiber in when you do have carbohydrates. Salt your food to taste, and trust me, when your food is salted too much, it's going to be so bitter you can't eat it. But if it's not at that point, it's probably not for your body. You're probably getting in too much sugar, okay? But your kidneys just can't get rid of the salt that it needs, or the salt that's too much, can't utilize the salt that it needs when insulin is present. So that's 4 ways. The 5th way is this, because I'll go over this really briefly because I love this topic. The 5th way that insulin resistance is causing that high blood pressure is this. It changes, and you guys, there's a calculation that's going to help you understand your risk for hypertension, your risk for heart disease, your risk for insulin resistance. But for insulin resistance, it's not perfect. It's one of the indicators, but you can do this. Hey, Andre, you guys, so many people are hopping in. I must just miss the nighttime hour. It's so good to see all of you guys here. All right, so you have cholesterol, right? If you get a pen and paper out and just jot this number down, or go to the how to tell button on my TikTok, and the calculations are all there. But what happens is, in the presence of insulin resistance, you have 2 types of LDL, low density lipoprotein. Okay, you have HDL, high density lipoprotein. You have triglycerides. That makes up your cholesterol panel. Now, we know LDL is the bad cholesterol. We know HDL is the good cholesterol. What happens with insulin resistance is LDL. We're going to focus on LDL. It has more than one size. Okay, low density and high density. Low density is a bit bigger than the high density, smaller ones. Okay, but low density has a type A and a type B. Another analogy: type A is like a big buoyant beach ball. Type B is small and dense, like a little tiny golf ball. So if you imagine standing along, and I'm thinking of all these streams that we used to stand above in North Idaho. But If you stand on a bridge and you're throwing in a river and a stream, a golf ball or a bucket of golf balls and a bucket of beach balls, the beach balls are going to float along that stream and they may get hung up here and there, but they're not going to congregate, right? They're just going to kind of bounce along happily. That's your LDLA. But LDLB, because it's small and dense, is going to fall to the bottom of that riverbed, that creek bed, creek bed, however you guys say it. And it's going to start to cause a blockage in that body of water. Same thing is happening in our blood vessels. Now, the other thing with LDLB is it's meant to go in. One of the purposes is those little tears I was talking about in your innermost lining of your blood vessels. LDLB is supposed to heal those. So it's supposed to go, hey, there's a little hole, I'm going to plug it. But those holes are too big and there's so much LDL that it's kind of getting in and under that lining, and it's causing that lining to puff up and get really big, and it's holding all of that in there, and that's where the blockage is really happening. Insulin resistance cues your body to create more LDLB, and the calculation I'm going to give you really deals with giving us an idea of the type of LDL that you have in your body. What's more present, A or B? Okay, so that calculation is, write it down or go to the video later, is you take your triglycerides from your cholesterol panel, and then you take your HDL from your cholesterol panel, and this is listed on the NIH website as well. And you take the triglycerides and divide them by the HDL. Oh my God, I was talking about LDL and you just said HDL, right? Because we can't do it with LDL. The calculation uses HDL. That calculation gives us an idea what's happening with the LDL, because they don't really have a test out right now to tell where your LDL A and B is. Okay, this is the calculation: triglycerides divided by HDL. Now, if you're healthy and at a lesser risk for heart disease, that resulting number should be about 1.5 to maybe maximum of 2. If it goes above 2, and certainly if it goes above 3, you have a problem and you need to address it. Now, every time I post a video on this, I get people who say, well, I have my ratio is only like 0.7, but I have all of these other symptoms. So this is a good indicator, but it's not an end-all be-all. Okay, if you want to have a quick assessment of what's happening with your cholesterol, what's happening with your heart, and what's happening with your metabolism, use that. Now, if you come back and you're like, okay, well, that number is great, but I have headaches all the time, I'm hungry all the time, I have cravings, my skin doesn't look right, and I can't sleep well, guess what? Start addressing your insulin resistance before that number gets bad. Now, the other thing I want you to understand is they don't catch insulin resistance because they're not testing for it. They're testing for blood sugars. Well, your blood sugars don't go up until insulin cannot get it into cells like your endothelium, your keratinocytes, your melanocytes, or your fat cells. Now, when those are all full, your sugar in your blood starts to go up because there's no place else to put it. Now we have diabetes. And now they go, oh my God, you got a problem. But this could have been going on for 10 or 20 years before you get here. Went from 6.6 to 2.97. My last lab was a year ago. I get new labs in a couple of weeks. Yay! So was that your calculation, Tanya Lee? Was 6.6 to 2.97? You guys, I want to get to the protocol. Does anybody want to know what the protocol is? Do you guys know enough about what's going on here? Tanya Lee, those are amazing. I have a guy who had a 13.3 A1C over time blood sugar reading, and it's now 4.7. Did he tell me? 13.3 is on the end of your life store. 4.7 is completely healthy. So he went in the last 3 years from 13.3 to 4.7 on his A1C, and all of the other symptoms of his diabetes are diminishing. Okay. So like for me, joints stopped deteriorating. I no longer have the arthritis that cost me my first 3 joints. My teeth and gums aren't bleeding anymore. My hair grew back in. I was balding. This whole spot on my hair was gone. My eyesight was failing. These readers are 1.75 diopter. 4 years ago, I was in 3 diopter. So not quite half of what it was 4 years ago. So yes, I still wear glasses, but my eyesight is so much better now than it was 4 years ago. It's like where it was in my 40s. That's what happens when you get insulin under control. Your blood pressure. 13 medications. How many of you guys have so many medications that the doctor is pointing at you and you're just sick of it? 13 medications off of all of them, and I'm not the only one. Okay? Not the only one. I have not filled a prescription medication since I had my gallbladder surgery because I lost my gallbladder due to insulin resistance. But I don't take any medications. The only things in my cupboard are the system that I use, some omega-3s, some bone fortified like K3D, D2, D3K2, sorry. Those type of things. But I don't have Tums, I don't have cold medicines, I have some Tylenol that I haven't taken in a long, long time. Everything else is nutrition in my cupboards. I don't need, because I was on Pepcid and Tums, and my daughter used to eat Tums like candy because our gut was unhealthy. That's what I'm talking about, the gut microbiome. It gets nasty, and you get these ugly burps, and it just is horrible, and acid reflux, and all of that goes away when you start to get your insulin resistance under control. I can't see that one because I'm trying to touch my computer screen as if it's a touch screen. Oh, you guys, I'm tired. I'm tired. All right. So there is metabolic syndrome and there is pre-metabolic syndrome. And if you get a hold of a doctor that wants to run the right tests like HOMA IR or a homeostatic model of assessment insulin resistance test that's fasting, you can start to check it for that. But most doctors will not. It only costs you about $30 more on your labs, but most doctors will fight you about doing it. Okay. Well, you can't force anyone to change their diet and lifestyle, and you can't force them to change, Jazz, when they're already so defeated because nothing's been working. When they're so defeated because the food is so toxic and they don't know, nobody's talking about it. We are now. We are now. Make America healthy again. Damn, I love that. All right. Thanks, Tanya Lee. Thank you. You guys, I love giving information, but sometimes it gets stressful because, yeah, I love getting information, and I go on spurts. But okay, I want to talk about we know some symptoms, right? Do you guys know symptoms of insulin resistance? Do you guys have symptoms that you want to ask and say, well, you know what, this is going on. Is this possible? I will do a video in the next day or two that gives you a bunch of symptoms. And what I want you to do is, I don't want anyone to go, ooh, I have one symptom. But guess what? You can change your diet and it's not going to hurt you. But if you have 2, 3, 4 of those symptoms, you better pay attention. You better start to take care of it now because it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And we don't want that to happen. So what happens when you start having this, I can't sleep, I have migraines, my joints hurt, my body hurts, I have fibromyalgia, my hair is falling out, all of these things happen, right? What it leads to is kidney disease, liver disease, heart disease, thyroid problems like Hashimoto's, PCOS, diseases that we don't want that are costing people their lives and their ability to enjoy life. You want to take care of it now. So Jazz, and I'm going to go back to that because I want people to know that I'm not telling you that you get to eat crap all day. I'm not telling you that you get to go have a gallon of orange juice and a box of donuts and be healthy, my gosh, because of this protocol. No. I want you to eat healthy. I want you to pay attention to limit your carbohydrates. So let's talk about my 6 simple steps. You guys can go get the ebook later. It's just a short, sweet, simple little ebook that gives you a clue. And you'll get a list of proteins. You'll get a list of foods that you can eat. All right. The 6 simple steps. Fiber first. Prioritize protein. Don't fear fats. Limit your carbs. Do some time-based eating. Move your body. Okay. So raised blood pressure is definitely a problem with metabolic syndrome, right? With high insulin. Borderline to raised HbA1c, but guess what? Again, that doesn't show up until long in the game. I was sick for years and complaining about some of these things that happened. My A1C was fine. My blood sugars were fine. My triglyceride panel or my cholesterol panel was fine until it wasn't. And when it wasn't, it just was like snowball, got worse, 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 all rapidly because it had been building over 10, 20, 30 years. And this happens to a number of people. So they're walking around, nobody's saying that, okay, you have an A1C of 5.3, but you have these other things. Let's start to address it. They're like, oh, wait, no, we got to wait. We got to wait. We got to wait. 5.7. Your A1C is 5.7 now. We better start to take a look. And even at that, most doctors won't take a look at it. Hey, JS, they'll just ignore it for a while until it's like 5.9, 6, 6.1. And now they're like, oh, we got to address this. You might have diabetes. So if diabetes was genetic, solely genetic, why is it that I didn't develop diabetes until my 50s? I had been insulin resistant for a long, long time. But it didn't show up as diabetes until my 50s. So if it was genetic, if it was truly genetic, why didn't I have it at 2 or 3 or 4 or 1 or at birth? That would be genetic. The food we're eating is making us sick. Our food has been engineered to be addictive and destructive, and we're eating it up and paying them to make us sick. We got to stop. Okay? Stop all the packaged. You guys, every time they come out with a new protein bar, a new snack bar, we don't need all the stuff. I remember this memory. We lived in North Idaho. Back then, my dad was balling. Had a big old caddy. We would get in that caddy. I remember taking trips to California, road trip, right? Did we have potato chips and sodas and juices in the car on that trip? No, we did not. We had breakfast. We stopped somewhere for lunch. We maybe had dinner. We didn't have chips and snacks and candies and all this stuff in the car with us. We're not meant to eat like that. Between our food being bad and us eating all the time, that's the problem. Our bodies are not built for this. Our bodies are meant to feast and then famine. Okay? Feast, build up that fat as preparation for times that are going to be hard, like the deep winter. Now we have energy to make it through, right? If you live in an area, if your family is from an area that didn't have that fluctuation, maybe you don't have to, your body was never meant to fast as much. I'm Native American from the Great Lakes region. We had some hard winters. We ate up in the summer, got a little chunky, survived the winter. That's what our bodies are made for. In today's world, we have food in our face all the time. So Jazz says type 1 diabetes is less genetic preponderance than type 2. So your understanding, you agree 100% that a lot of type 2 diabetes mellitus is lifestyle, diet, and exercise associated. But there's a lot of what they're terming as type 1 diabetes. Again, if the child isn't getting diabetes until they're 2 or 3, that's not, I was born this way. That's, I was fed this way. And more doctors are starting to speak out about that. Okay. So this type 1.5 diabetes is basically type 2 diabetes that got so bad that the pancreas cannot put out enough insulin and not anymore. And now you're acting like a type 1 diabetic later in life. Again, it wasn't genetics. It was our food. So when I look at people who are, and there is a genetic, but if you listen to geneticists, our genetics do not change as a human race, as human race. Our genetics do not change in 50 to 60 years to the amount that they have apparently changed because of our metabolism dysfunction that we have today. So scientists have been sitting down and saying, well, if our genes didn't change or couldn't have changed this much, what did? And it's our food. So another analogy, if we have a school full of kids They have all these teachers and they have all this information, but 93% of those kids are failing the school. Do you go to the 93% of the kids and go, "You're an idiot. You're not trying enough. It's all your fault you can't pass this class. You're not getting it. You need to do better." Or do you go to the school and say, "Hey, I get a few of the kids failing. Why are all the kids failing? Why are all the kids failing? What are you guys doing? Why do we not treat our food that way? Why do we not treat these industries that way? Why do we not say, what are you feeding us that's making us sick? Or better yet, what are you not feeding us? You're feeding us wood pulp instead of real fibers. And so our gut's not getting what it needs to. And now our whole metabolism is jacked up. So that we have food that's shelf stable, that we want to eat more and more of, that we're hungry for all the time. That's why. I'm not here to talk about epigenetics, Jazz, but you know what? I talk a lot about this kind of stuff with my son because he's amazingly intelligent. But epigenetics is really interesting. Epigenetics is extremely interesting, but it's a whole nother talk. Would love to talk about it sometime, but tonight's not that night. But yeah, epigenetics is crazy stuff that most people don't even look at. All right, so if we know food's been messed with, we have fiber stripped out, we're not getting the nutrients we need, we're eating all the time, we're not satiated. That's the problem. That's the problem. As a result, heart disease, liver disease, kidney disease. Ladies, are your breasts sagging? Does your belly not pull in tight? Are your arms flappy? Guys, do you got love handles? Do you got man boobs? Insulin. Too much sugar. Okay? Too much sugar. So understand that food is not nutrition anymore. It's a product. It's a business. It's supposed to be designed to nourish you, but instead, it's designed to addict you. It's engineered addiction. And it's why even when you eat less, you still feel hungry, you still feel off, you still feel stuck. And then somebody mentioned peanuts. Like every time I eat peanuts, I feel really good. But every bite of that healthy snack, that protein bar, those peanuts, those nuts. By the way, nuts are almost as bad as seed oils. The stuff they do to nuts, because most nuts are very toxic to us, especially cashews. How many of you guys knew that cashews are poisonous? And they do a lot to cashews to make us be able to eat them, but they're a poisonous plant. So I wouldn't rely on nuts all the time. And they do spike your insulin. So every time you have every bite you have of that healthy snack, it's still a spiking your insulin. And that's the part we got to shift into. Not just, yes, I want people to eat healthy, but not just, ooh, I can eat whatever I want because this is healthy. Let's talk about hormones. So we're going to talk a little bit about fasting, and then we're going to drop into the protocol. Okay. I've been talking forever. Okay. We already talked about salt, fat, but they're not warning you against sugar until recently, right? Right. I want to tell you this one it's random, but it came through. I was listening to Casey and Callie Means one day, and they were talking about, I think it was Casey Means, who was talking about how he used to work as a lobbyist for some of the food companies. And I'm not going to get it all. The meat is not good for us either. They have to boil them. They do a lot of stuff. Removed the shell. They remove the shell. They put them through a whole process to make them edible. It's not just removing the shell. They put them through a whole process to reduce that toxin in it so we can eat it. That's why there's so many people who are allergic to cashews, because really it wasn't meant for human consumption. I love them. They're my favorite nut. So I get it. All right. You're sick, you're inflamed. Your body feels like it's turning against you. Now, understanding the food is jacked up, right? We got that. Got it, Nisha. We got it, right? But the hormones, let's go back to the hormones. How we're going to start to get control of this one major bully hormone, insulin, is to stop eating all the damn time. Yes, that means some intermittent fasting. If you understand that every time you eat, your insulin is going up, then you understand that every time you eat every 2 hours, your insulin is going up. And a study was done that showed that when they tested people who were told to eat every 2 hours smaller meals, what they actually were doing was eating 12 to 16 times a day. 12 to 16 times a day, bite, snack, handful of peanuts, protein bar, a Z bar, a whatever. Maybe I'll grab a bag of chips this time. Um, whatever it is that you're eating, but you're snacking every couple hours, every 15 minutes, 30 minutes, you're like, ooh, I'm a little bit hungry. I'm going to throw something in my face. You're spiking your insulin. Now, the important part of that is this. If we look at a timeline, just a generic timeline, and say, I had dinner. By the way, I found this Italian street food place tonight. I had a BLT double protein hot chicken. It was amazing. But I had my dinner about 6 o'clock tonight. So now it's 2 a.m. Guess what? I've already been fasting for 8 hours. I should be sleeping. And yes, Jason, you're right. Now it's past your bedtime. I should be sleeping, but I've already made it through 8 hours of a fast. Guess what? Guess what's happening in my body right now at 8 hours after my last bite of food? My insulin says, ooh, this crazy woman is not giving me any more of that glucose, that carbohydrate, so I can go to bed now. I'm awake, but my insulin is going to sleep. Now, when the bully goes to bed, when the bully's not on the playground, other hormones can come out to play. One of the hormones, sugar, Jazz, inherently is not bad for us unless we're having it without fiber. In nature, these carbohydrates, with the exception of honey, and that honey had bees, right? So we weren't just drinking honey because we had to fight bees for it. But every other form of carbohydrate has some fiber attached to it to help regulate the sugar. And this is where we've gone wrong. The fiber was stripped out. Now the sugar's not regulated. And now we're getting too much in and it's unregulated. And instead of hitting us slowly, time released, it's just like, bam, IV of sugar into our system. And then we're drinking it in fruit juices, in shakes, in smoothies. Smoothies are the devil, you guys. Ugh. Ugh. A lot of sugar, very little fiber, straight to your bloodstream. Okay. So where was I? Fasting, 8 hours. My insulin is going down right now. In about 2 more hours, when that insulin goes, nighty night, I'm done. Glucagon, the component hormone, comes out, also created in your pancreas. Now my pancreas is like, oh, I don't have to produce insulin anymore, but now I got to produce glucagon. What glucagon is it's catabolic. Remember, insulin is anabolic. It wants to hold on to things. It wants things to grow. It's not going to let you burn fat. It's not going to let you get rid of stuff. In fact, it affects your bone growth because your bones are tearing down one part, but they're unable to build up because those cells aren't getting energy. Now, that was a little trick step sideways. But glucagon, catabolic, means it wants to eat things up. This is what cues fat burning, cell regeneration, getting rid of old cells, glucagon. Glucagon comes out, raises our glucose up by burning fat, and that's when GLUT4 starts to activate, and we start to get some of that into the cells without this high shot of insulin rising because our blood sugars are rising. Now, when you're diabetic and you're unregulated and you fast, your blood sugars are going to swing wildly, right? Mine go 60 to 120 when I'm in a fasted state. It's a nice curve. It just keeps this nice wave, and it happens without me putting a bite of food in my face. That's how our body's supposed to work. I have enough energy on my body to not starve overnight. But at hour 10, glucagon comes out. It's starting the process. It's getting ready. It's prepping the kitchen for us to burn fat. That's at 10 hours. Now, remember, your body is this immense freeway system of blood streams and all this, and lymphatic systems and all these things. So it takes a while. Like, I live in Florence, Kentucky. If I wanted to go to Spokane, Washington, which I'm going to do, I'm not going to hit the road and be there in 30 minutes, right? Even at that, it would take me 30 minutes to get somewhere. Your body's no different. Insulin down, glucagon comes out. Now, it takes a minute for your body to recognize that. So it takes about 2 more hours. Glucagon starts to go throughout the system and give the system its cues. What happens when the system is getting those cues? At hour 12, you're starting to get growth hormone come out. You're starting to get ketones come out. Now you're getting prepped for fat burning. You're not burning fat yet because those are just starting to be created, but they're not flooding your system. They're not covering your system yet. At hour 14, enough of that growth hormone, the ketones, and the glucagon are out that you start burning fat. Your insulin is down. Now you're training your body, instead of using sugar for fuel all the time, your body says, I'm going to use some fat for fuel. Okay? We should be able to, metabolic flexibility means we can switch from fat burning to sugar burning. We can switch out of sugar burning into fat burning. And hopefully as you become more insulin sensitive, it doesn't take so long. But if you're extremely insulin sensitive, that 8 hours for insulin to go to sleep could be 10, 12, 14 hours. Then you still got to wait for glucagon to come out. It could take a little longer to come out because it's not used to doing its job. And it's like a squeaky door that hasn't been opened, is kind of rusted shut. You got to get that door working again so it can open and close. It's what's happening in our body when we're not used to doing these things. Our body has to go, hey, wait, I was supposed to do something here. Let's do that. All right. Fasting. That's why fasting is important. Only 16 hours. So what we do is we fast for 16 hours. It's a big, bad, nasty, scary word. No, it's not. It's the easiest thing. Most of you think that because that's a good question, Jazz. Do blended fruits have a lower glycemic index if you drink them with all the fiber content? What happens is that the blended fruits, the fibers are being broken down. You're blending them. So you're still not getting the enzymes that need to go along with them. Think about an apple. When you bite into an apple, does it just go down? Same amount of fiber, right? Does it just go down, or do you have to chew it? Do you have to work it? Is it going to go down more whole? So the blended fruits in smoothies, one of the doctors, Fung, it wasn't Bickman, it was Fung or Pradeep or another one that was talking about, maybe it was Dr. Lee, who was talking about when you blend those fruits, it destroys the fiber in them to the extent that it doesn't work the same. I'll say that. Okay. So fasting. We fast for 16 hours. That means you have an 8-hour eating window. That doesn't mean you eat all the time during those 8 hours. You have a meal. You wait 4 to 6 hours and you have your next meal. And guess what? I don't count calories. I don't do anything. What I do is say, if I need to have about 100 grams of protein in my day today, I want to have 50 grams of protein at breakfast or my first meal. And I want to have 50 grams of protein at my dinner. That's what I focus on. The rest is just flavor and nutrients. But we're going to get to the protocol now. The protocol that I do that saved my life, changed my life. And by the way, you guys, let's show this. For everybody who doesn't know, this picture was me when I started the system. This was me. Okay. This, I touched too many things. Okay. The picture in the Wonder Woman suit was after 5 months on this system. All I did was this protocol. I still had hamburgers. I still had snacks once in a while. I don't like to snack, but every once in a while I do. You guys, I try not to, but I'm human. And I'm not perfect, so I do. I have other pictures here too. We'll go over those in a minute. Oh, this is another young lady that is just doing amazing. She's gone from a size 14 now down to a size 6. I know I have Jason in here because he was on. This is another one of my amazing friends who does the system. See that belly of hers? That belly says insulin resistance. That belly. That belly went to this belly. Did she change drastically everything she's eating? No. Did she understand what I'm talking about? Probably not even that. She just took my word for it and said, okay, I'm going to try this. That's how I met her, was because of this. I would need to look that up, Jazz. That's the first time I've heard that. Okay. This one is amazing because Christy is a bodybuilder, obviously. Now, in the picture over here, this was before she started the system, and the other picture is after she started. It's hard to see from this, but what you'll notice is that she's really bloated in one picture and very cut and lean in the next. That, if you look at her face, it's all bloated and it's all lean there. Same weight, same time in her training cycle, system, no system. Does it work for everybody? Yes. Do you have to be obese and severely diabetic? No, 93% of us need this. Okay. So what the protocol is this, you guys, it's enough. I've been talking for forever. So we're going to get to this. What the protocol is 2 drinks that I have at 3 points during the day. The first one is this yerba mate tea. Now, normally my yerba mate tea is in this cup. This is water right now, but the tea is yerba mate. It's called Unimate. It's a highly concentrated form of yerba mate. Yerba mate has every or nearly every vitamin and mineral that we need to sustain life. Do I have to take vitamins and minerals? No, I'm getting so much from the system. I never have to take them. Naturopath checks my labs, or he does it with electrodes. My nutritionals are amazing right now. Okay. This gives me those. This gives me chlorogenic acids. This GLP-1. Has anybody heard about GLP-1? It's a crazy thing. Okay, better yet, has anybody heard about Ozempic, semaglutide, tirzepatide, all of the ides that are helping people lose weight? That's GLP-1. Now, let's talk about that, and I'm going to finish this. This increases your own natural GLP-1 by 70%. Okay, that means my body is producing this peptide that I need when it's needed, supported by nutrition. Those injections, if you guys heard, people are losing their eyesight, people are losing their thyroids, people have lost their pancreases, people have ended up in the hospital with intestinal systems that are blocked up. Yeah, there is a lot of Jazz. We should talk sometime because I love to learn, and I know I don't know everything. So if I can learn new stuff, I don't care where it comes from. I'll go study it and we'll learn it. And I appreciate you bringing new information to me. I really do. Okay, so GLP-1 in those injectables, let's talk about it. It's injected because it cannot survive your liver. Okay, it's injected to keep it at a steady state. That's why you do an injection and then you do another one about a week later. So it's keeping this GLP-1 cruising through your body all the time. But that's like going through your house and turning all the lights on for a week and never turning your lights off. Then shutting them off for a second, or at least dimming some of them, and then going, oh, the week is up. We got to turn all the lights back on. Could you imagine living like that? But that's what you're doing to your body with those drugs. And that's why things are failing. That's just a very simplified version of it. GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide 1, is amazing for our bodies. It helps us stay satiated. It helps shut down cravings. It helps us with nutrients. It helps us with sugar regulation. But it's something we should be producing on our own, supported by nutrition that our body needs. We're not producing it like we should because we're not getting the nutrition that we should from the foods that we have today, right? Foods are designed to be addictive and keep you coming back for more. They're not designed to keep you healthy and slim. They're not. All the stuff that was doing that has been stripped out, and we've got to put it back in. So in today's world, do we have to supplement? Yes, we do, because our foods don't have it. Dr. Giles Yao was talking about how some of our fruits and vegetables are 40 to 70% less dense in nutrients now than they were 60 years ago. So not only are you getting in more sugar, less fiber, you're getting in less nutrients. Now you're insulin resistant, less able to take up the nutrients that you are getting. And so now you're not just deficient 40 to 70%, it's much bigger than that. And you wonder why you feel like you got to take vitamins all the time. So GLP-1 is amazing, helps keep you feeling full, helps, it does slow down your gut a little bit so that food doesn't just run through you. It helps you be more insulin sensitive. It helps regulate sugars, all of the stuff I mentioned. We want it. We want it. We want it in a healthy way. So we want to be able to produce our own. Another little side story. When I was powerlifting, one of the ladies who got me into powerlifting was also a massage therapist. Brilliant lady. So on point with everything she did, so regimented. I could never be that. But she was talking to me about, it's a little off topic, but we're going to get there. She would do massage on bodybuilders and on powerlifters, and she could tell who was on testosterone therapy and not, because the muscles were less pliable on the testosterone. And then she started to talk to me, and I went and checked with my doctor. When they inject that testosterone, now some guys need to, but understand that sugar's dampening it. So you might just check this, and your testosterone levels can bounce back. But when you start replacing any of these hormones in your body with unnatural ones. So I'm in menopause. Could I use some hormone replacement therapy? Probably, because my body's just not going to make it now. But when you do that, your body stops producing it. So guys, when you're taking testosterone to be the bodybuilder or whatever, your body stops producing it. It changes your muscular structure. It changes how your body can produce it. So GLP-1, we're going to tie back in. When you're injecting that, what you're doing is teaching your body not to produce it. Now you come off of that drug and your body goes, what? What? You fed me this stuff all this time and now you're taking it away. What am I supposed to do? That factory is shut down. I can't do it anymore. Is that what you guys want? Because you can't be on those drugs forever. And they're 300 to 400 times what they're supposed to be to elicit this weight loss. The other thing is, we'll talk about this, and then I'm going to get back into the system. When you are insulin resistant, you are shutting down your muscles from being able to take in energy and grow too. So you're losing muscle every year when you're insulin resistant. Now, you're insulin resistant, you're sick, you're tired, you're heavy, you start taking those injections. Guess what? Some of those injections can cause you to lose muscle as you're losing weight. Up to 40% of your weight is actually muscle loss, not fat loss. So guess what? Let's take a look. If, say, you're super heavy and you need to lose 100 pounds and you're doing the injections, going good, I'm not hungry, I may burp and I may have these nasty burps and my tummy doesn't feel great all the time and my energy's off a little bit, but I'm not hungry and I'm losing weight, so everything is good. But now you lose 100 pounds. I want you to think about this. About 60 pounds of that 100 that you lose on the injections is fat. The other 40 pounds could very well be muscle tissue. Now, when you come off the drug, because you got to your goal weight, and you haven't learned what caused you to be overweight in the first place, you just took a shot and said, I don't know how I got here, but this is making it better, so I'm good. And eventually, your hunger comes back. You haven't taught your body how to be metabolically flexible. You start eating again. Now you start gaining weight. And most people, I've met many people who either had gastric bypass or Ozempic or whatever, and they gain the weight back. Guess what happens when you gain the weight back? Do you gain back 60 pounds of fat and 40 pounds of muscle? Nope. Now you're 100 pounds heavier, but you've lost 40 pounds of muscle, and you put back on 60 pounds of fat that you lost and 40 more pounds of fat. So did it work? Did it work? Maybe your pancreas is suffering. Maybe your thyroid is off now. Maybe you've damaged your eyesight now because of that drug. I'm offering you a better solution. One that doesn't cause all the damage, but gives you the benefit because it's food and it's been studied and proven to do this. Okay, so the yerba mate does that. Increases your GLP-1 up to 70%. It shuts down your hunger. It gives you mental clarity and energy. It can increase your endurance and stamina by 10 to 15%. Now, as an athlete, my bench press was 275 and I wanted it to be 300. My Squat was about 430 and I wanted it to be more than 450. My deadlift was 475 and I wanted to break 500. Now, if I had a 10% increase in strength on any of those, 275 and I had 10%, I'm well over 300 pounds for that bench press. 475 for a deadlift and I wanted to be over 500, add another 47 pounds, I would have been over 500, right? All of my goals would have been hit, but insulin resistance was costing me and not allowing me to grow like I should. And this is happening even when you're not an athlete. It's happening, especially once you get past 40 and you start getting older, it gets worse and worse and worse. And guess what? Once you're past 40 and you're losing that muscle and you take that shot and you've lost 40 pounds of muscle to lose 60 pounds of fat and say I'm 100 pounds less, you're not going to put that 40 pounds back on of muscle. You're not. You're not. Your body's in a different state and it's not going to do it. So think about how you want to lose weight and how you want to get healthy and what cost you want to pay for that. Okay. Understand that. All right. So T, mental health. This also increases your wellness score. It affects dopamine and serotonin. So you're now having better moods, more stable moods. You are not hungry all the time. This is how you make it through the fast. When I wake up in the morning, I mix up one of these, or I mix up both of these in this big mug, and I just start sipping on it all day long. By the time about 2, 3 o'clock comes, I've drank both of these. Now, I've increased my GLP-1 constantly. Every time I sip, GLP-1 goes up. I'm less hungry. I'm more satiated. I'm better regulated with my sugars. All of that from this. Plus, I'm not having it's heart healthy. It's helping stabilize my heart. This is part of how I went from 180 over 150 down to 110 over 74, 180 over 150 on medication, on dual therapy for my heart, to 110 over 74, no medications, just this. Okay. 180 over 150, medications, not controlled. Food, supplement, nutraceutical, blood pressure is controlled. Okay. I don't wake up in the middle of the night with my heart pounding out of my chest. When I go to sleep, I sleep until morning. I don't have the sleep apnea issues anymore. I don't have the joint issues. I don't have the skin issues. I don't have the belly bloat. I don't have the fatigue and the migraines and all of the other problems. Is it a whole different life? Oh, hell yes, it is. If you would have told me that I would feel like this at 61 when I was 57 and suffering, I would have said, you're full of shit. I'm dying. My life is over. And that's how I felt. But now I'm flying to Washington State. I'm grabbing 2 of my grandkids. We're taking a cross-country trip for about 10 days, and we're going to stop at some cool sites, and I'm going to go out hiking with them, and I'm going to do all this stuff. Things I couldn't have even imagined doing 4 years ago because I was so sick. Crazy. All right, so the second part of this, let's talk about it. 2 teas, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and this, the fiber. Remember, I've been talking about fiber all day. This is a scientifically designed food source of fiber, not wood pulp. 7 different fibers, soluble and insoluble. Now, let's talk about fiber. Remember, fiber helps regulate sugar. Fiber helps feed your gut. Fiber helps move waste through. This is not pooping fiber. Okay, this is supporting my health fiber. Insoluble, soluble. Fiber is a non-digestible carbohydrate. Insoluble fiber means it doesn't soak up water. Insoluble fiber is things like celery and the strandy things in banana, those long strandy fibers that are so hard to break up and chew. What they do when they get inside is they create like a basket weave, and they kind of sweep out your gut and they help clean it out. The soluble fibers soak up water. And so I always think of flubber. Remember how flubber started out small and just kept expanding? That's what happens with soluble fiber. And there's 5 different types of soluble fiber, all meant, all studied, all proven to help regulate glucose in this packet. Do you guys want to go find all the foods that you need to eat to get in the right insoluble fibers and the right soluble fibers, 7 different types, because you're not going to get 7 different types from an apple. You're not going to get 7 different types from a watermelon. You're not going to get 7 different types from a head of lettuce. Do you guys want to go figure that out and try and eat those every time you eat? Or do you just want to know that it's covered? Like, look, you tear open a packet, you dump it in some water, shake it up, drink it down. I wish I had my bottle here. And that's it. Now, when these fibers get in my gut, they're helping slow down my sugar absorption. They're helping increase my nutrient absorption. Plus, there's vitamins and minerals in this too, designed to help support your metabolic health. So now you're getting all that blood sugar regulation. This can reduce a blood sugar spike by up to 43%. 43%. This will reduce it about 10%. So I don't know about you. If I had to buy this and take 4 doses of it to get what I get in this in a simple packet, that like when I get on the plane, these packets go in my purse. Look at how easy that is. In my purse, I take an empty water bottle with me, a water bottle, and I just fill it up in the water station in the airport, dump this in, drink it. If I need energy, I drink this. If I'm about to eat or I have an upset tummy, I drink this. Done. And I will drink it all along the path. Now, when we stop at gas stations and I get a bottle of water for the road, good, because I can just mix this in. Good, because I can just mix this in, and it's sized to fit right in the top of those little water bottles, so you're not having struggles with it. 2 teas, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. A pre-meal drink before you eat. And this one you're going to have with the meal that has the most carbohydrates in it. If you're like me, you're going to have it every time you eat, because I'm 61 and I destroyed my gut earlier in life. I want the support that this fiber gives my gut. I like that it helps keep the acid down in my gut. I like that it helps keep me feeling full. I like that it just helps soothe my gut. I like that it's feeding my gut microbiome. I like that it's helping regulate my sugars. I like that it's kept me diabetes free for 4 years. No pills, no injections, no shakes, no restrictions. I just don't eat. It does have stevia in it. Yes, it does. It does. So, and here's the thing. We cannot, I have some people who say they're allergic to stevia, or I'm sorry. There's, we just can't make formulations for every iteration. We've tried to make it and everyone asked for stevia. And so the company about 2 years ago switched to stevia to keep it as healthy as possible and fulfill the want you guys had. All right. So any other questions about, so you're getting increased fat burning, you're getting appetite suppression, you're getting blood glucose regulation, you're getting gut health, you're getting satiety. If you would send me those studies, I'll go look them up. But you know what? We have a whole panel of scientists who work on our products, who are looking at all this stuff all the time. So this isn't me that makes the decisions. We have scientists, Dan Gruber. By the way, we have coming to talk to those of us who are doing this. We have Mindy Pels coming to talk to us this year. We have Ben Bickman coming to talk to us. We have Jason Fung coming to talk to us. They all approve. Okay. So Ben Bickman, who wrote this book, is one of the advisors who actually helped create both of these products and oversees them. I will do some looking into stevia, but I'm just going to say 2 years ago, everybody was complaining about sucralose. Now they're complaining about stevia. Then they'll switch it to monk fruit, and then everybody's going to say monk fruit is bad. So I'll look into the stevia, but yes, it does have stevia. It's the safest option that we have right now. If you're not looking at sucralose or sugar that are spiking your insulin, stevia is the safest option. So I'll take a look, but yeah, regular sugar is the best. It is. That's your opinion. Our metabolic scientists would say no. So in order to get this kind of bitter plant to be palatable, most people want a little bit sweet. I don't believe that. I would need you to send me documentation that regular sugar is better. When we're talking about the hormone insulin and the way that people are sick today, and the way that we choose to eat today, yeah, if you have sugar and you have just a little bit, great. But most people are not just having a little bit. Most people are not getting up and moving. Most people are not having fiber in their day. So is sugar. Long-term use of sugar is awful. So that's the system. I am not Mahmood, I am not a doctor. You missed that part. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm a woman who got really sick when all of those professionals couldn't help me, and I was literally dying. Um, I found this system. I gave it a shot against all odds. I didn't really believe it would work. I hoped it would, but I didn't really believe it would work. And 3 months later, skin tags were gone. Skin discoloration was gone. I was losing weight. My inflammation was gone. My teeth and gums weren't bleeding. I was not having headaches. I was sleeping through the night. I wasn't having leg cramps that woke me up every day. And every month for the first year, I felt like every month something got better, that I was just like, wow, how did this happen? And so I would go look it up, and then I was reading Dr. Bickman's book, and he goes over how all of this ties together in insulin. And that's where I learned. Spent 4 years looking stuff up, and when people like Jazz and Unknown bring me information, I'll go check it out. So they're not all the same. And, Unknown, respectfully, be respectful. Okay, so if you guys want to know where it's at, just reach out to me. Use the link. Does it still work if you fast for less than 16 hours? Yes, brig. So the other truth is we all are a little bit different. So some people can, especially if you are younger and more active. So some people only fast for 12 hours. Most people fast for 16 hours. Some people do OMAD. I would say in the beginning, especially, I have people who start out with 12 hours. Because if you can go from 6 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning, that's 12 hours. That's better than the 6 or 7 hours you've been doing. Fasting will reduce all those symptoms. Fasting is excellent. And I've done fasting. I've done 3-day fasts. I've done 5-day fasts. I've done 10-day fasts. I worked with Max Reader and did a lot of Qigong and stuff. Healed up my body a lot from where it was. But I'm going to tell you, the nutritional support. So fasting is not going to put the nutrition in, the vitamins, the minerals, the phytosterols, the fiber that I need. Fasting is not going to do that. When people are living in an environment that's addictive foods, that are engineered foods, that are keeping them hungry, how are they supposed to fast when their hormones are jacked up because the food is not giving them the nutrients they want? We need to fill the gap so our bodies can do what they're supposed to. We need to fill that gap. We're not getting those nutrients, and it's part of why we're sick. We're getting too much sugar, too little other nutrients. We're not getting into the right amounts of fiber, and our guts are suffering, and our whole metabolism is suffering from it. Fasting alone is not going to give you that, okay? Fasting alone will not give you that. So fasting is amazing. Fasting does great things, but you have to follow it up with proper nutrition. You just stop eating if you want to fast. Oof. So here's the thing. What about the people who have hormonal problems, who have leptin and ghrelin problems, who have thyroid problems, who have estrogen and progesterone problems, and they literally have a hunger, and they're already stressed in life, and they just can't see? Maybe they can make it one day, but they can't do the next day. This is not spiking my insulin. For our purposes, for keeping insulin down and overcoming diabetes and insulin resistance and all the diseases that go along with it, this absolutely works. So you can go talk to Fung and Pels and Bickman because they all agree with this. Okay, so when you do this, it's shutting down the hunger, giving you nutrients, so you're not spiking your insulin. You're still in the fasted state where glucagon is coming out. This actually helps increase growth hormone and ketones in a fasted state. If you're a water faster and that's all you believe in, I can't help you. But if you just want to know how to control the hormones that are making you fat and sick, this can help you do that alongside of fasting. Now there's so many people, so if that was true also, I did keto, I did fasting, and I worked out 6 days a week, 3 hours a day intensely. I still had joint problems. I still had many of the problems. I was a little better, but I wasn't healing. And I was watching. I put everything I ate to fit the macros that I was supposed to get and I even like tried to look at the vitamins and minerals I was supposed to get. I spent a lot of time every day trying to make sure I was getting all the right foods in, and I wasn't getting better. So that's great. It can work for some people, but for those people who want to have something that's simple and sustainable and giving you health back, this could be it. And so I invite you to talk to me. Use the link if you've asked it. Thank you, Mahmood. Just give it a try. Now, what I haven't covered is it does have a 90-day money-back guarantee. It has a quality guarantee, and it has a low price guarantee. You use the discount code that I have, and you get the same price as me. You get that 90-day money-back guarantee. So here's the thing. I don't care. Try fasting and do all of that without and see how you go. I did, and I was super disciplined, and I couldn't do it. I wasn't getting better. My doctor was frustrated. My trainer was frustrated, and they knew I was following their directions. I started this, and within 3 months, I was so much better. People were asking me what I did. My moods were better. My energy was better. My mental clarity was better. I was losing weight. I was moving better. They didn't know all the other things that I suffered with, but they could visibly see that I was better. Can't use it if you're hypoglycemic. Boy. Hypoglycemia most often is a blood sugar dysregulation, and you stop being hypoglycemic when you start controlling your insulin. Type 1, we have a ton of type 1 diabetics who use this and who've gotten their type 1 diabetes under control. In fact, type 1 diabetic can't fast. Let's take a look. Not only is he type 1 diabetic, he was 9 years old when he started. He does do the type of fasting that I talk about. He was on long-acting or Lantus. He was on short or quick-acting insulin. He now very rarely has to use his quick-acting insulin, has reduced his long-acting insulin to 40% of what he was using. Okay? So hypoglycemia, then yours is a different, and type 1 isn't reversible. I never said that it was. Never said that it was. You said type 1 diabetics can't fast. I have a number that have. My own brother is type 1 diabetic and was able to use this system and fast and get his health back on track after a pretty major health problem. He's type 1. This kid's type 1. We have numbers of other people who are type 1 who manage their type 1 diabetes and the rest of their health, their weight, their moods, all of the other things that I talk about that happen with type 2 diabetics, all the other diseases that happen to us when we're insulin resistant happen to type 1 diabetics, because guess what? Type 1 diabetics can be insulin resistant too. It's not about whether you're producing it or not. It's about the need for it and whether your cells can put it. So type 1 diabetics don't produce insulin from their pancreas. They have to take an injection. Type 2 diabetics produce insulin in their pancreas, but they're not producing enough to adjust for the sugar. But guess what? Too much sugar, creating the need for too much insulin, and then insulin is helping deliver that sugar. So if you're getting in a ton of sugar, whether you're type 1 or type 2, you still have to have a delivery system. And that's why type 1 have to inject. But guess what? If they're eating too much sugar, not getting fiber, and it's affecting their body in a similar manner, and they're having to inject increased insulin, just like a type 2's pancreas is creating increased insulin. Can a system like this help? Yes, and it has. Yes, and it has. So that's the two. You guys, it's simple. It's two simple products that are giving you nutrients, that are giving you health in combination with, yes, I advocate for getting up and moving. I don't care if you're doing qigong at home, if you're going to the gym, if you're taking a walk. Get up and move your body 30 minutes a day at least. Do a little bit of fasting. Stop eating all the time. And if it means that you're type 1 and maybe you don't make a 16-hour fast, but you certainly aren't eating every 2 hours. I have former diabetes educators who have been learning this and teaching this and actually healing people, helping them get better, when all the years of all the diabetes education and all the old knowledge that they were given was making people sicker. So I don't know. You're either going to want to try it or not. So if you guys want to feel better, then, or you can just hang out. We'll have some more talks. I'll talk about PCOS. I'll talk about kidneys. I can talk about gout. I can talk about whatever. You let me know. We'll come on and we'll talk about it. But those are all things that are linked to insulin resistance. And once you understand that 95% of our diseases and disorders are linked to or caused by insulin resistance, you can have a clear path to get better. Okay. I've never said that every disease and disorder we have is caused by insulin resistance. I love when people come on and try and put words in my mouth because it's ridiculous. But you guys, that's it. And here's the other thing. So you get a 90-day money-back guarantee. You get the low price guarantee. Plus you get me for coaching. You're going to be able to text me anytime you need to say, hey, I'm not sure. I don't know what's happening. I've had people say, I don't know why I can't lose weight. Maybe they're not getting enough protein yet, whatever. We go over all of that and I help where I can. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist, but I have a lot of knowledge and I was trained with doctors. I worked with doctors. I'm not going to say that I know everything, not at all, but I can help. And if I don't know, I can go look it up. And we have people. I've actually been able to sit with Dr. Benjamin Bickman and talk to him about some things and get some answers. And I would love to get some more answers from him. But amazing, brilliant soul, one of the top metabolic scientists in the world, he actually developed this. So do I trust some guy on the internet that wants to fight with everything I say or Dr. Bickman? I'm going to trust him because actually his system saved my life. So why would I trust somebody else? But you get all those things. I want you to try it for 90 days. Give your body 90 days to heal. This isn't a medication that's forcing you to change in 10 days. This is nutraceuticals that are feeding your body so that it can do what it's meant to. And sometimes that can take up to 90 days for you to start to really see. Now, I started noticing in the first week, my energy was up, my mental clarity was up, my blood pressure was already down. And in those first 3 months, I was so convinced I knew I would never go back. I never asked for my money back. And 4 years later, I'm still doing it because it changed everything when nothing else did. Now, 90 days. Right now, we have an offer going out for your A1C. You can get a free A1C test. You test when you start, you test when you finish. And if you do the system for 90 days and turn in both of those tests, you can get a rebate cumulative up to $150 back over those 3 months. That's how much we believe in this. We know that it will reduce your A1C markedly if you're following what I'm telling you, a tea in the morning, a tea in the afternoon, some intermittent fasting, and a pre-meal drink before you eat. We know that it will reduce your A1C and start to bring it back into normal levels within 90 days. Can I tell you you're going to go from 13.3 back to 5.3 in 90 days? No. But can I tell you, mine was 7.4. In 90 days, it was to 6.1. And then in the next 3 months, it was back down to 5.3. So 6 months to go from 7.4 A1C down to 5.3. Yeah, I had been doing keto and fasting and training, and I never got it back down to that, doing any of those methods. Feeding your body, giving it the nutraceuticals, the supplements it needs to fill in the gaps of what's happened to our food, what's been stripped out of our food, what's been modified out of our food is the way we can heal right now. And so many people are talking about it. You guys, It doesn't have to be hard. And I know there's a ton of people out there. Some people, one of my partners, she is very diligent. She doesn't eat anything that's packaged. She doesn't like, she cooks everything at home now. She's just like, I'm going to take care of my health, whatever the cost. I have people who are still just living life. My grandson is, yeah, this is very, my grandson has a devastating DNA disorder. He's 8 years old. Most kids with his disorder are gone at age 5. When I have time with that kid, because we all know he's not going to be here for in a couple of years, we might not have him. Okay. When I spend time with him, I want him to enjoy the shit out of this life. I don't want him to be sick, so I'm not going to feed him full of crap. But we're going to go to the amusement park when his mom and dad go to Scotland in a couple of weeks. He's going to want to go get like a grilled cheese sandwich thing up there. Am I going to say no? No. We're going to enjoy ourselves. We're going to do it. We don't do it every day. We live a real life. And I'm healthy. And that's what matters. And I spend less on food. I spend about $5 a day to do this. And it's so easy. Instead of waking up and having coffee or soda or whatever, I wake up and have this. Before I eat, I have this. Done. If kiddo wants pizza, we have pizza. I feed him chicken and steak and veggies and all of that stuff too. But I don't have to say I can never have it again. No, I live a real life. And so you get to choose. Stair-step yourself in. Like, one of the things I say, one of the things I've noticed is, and my son talked to me about this the other night too. He said, Mom, when you were working to become a world champion, did you go into the gym and within a week, be bench pressing 300 pounds in the gym? Were you deadlifting almost 500 pounds in 1 week? Or did it take you a few years and some consistent training? Yeah. Yeah. You guys, all things can happen for you if you start to take care of your health. And the other thing I think is, what I like to call insulin is like an elephant in the room. I know from experience. I was so sick. I had lists. I would take in papers and papers and papers to my doctor. Like, these are all the things that I'm suffering with. Help me. Help me. And they would look at the list and be like, I don't know what's wrong with you. Your labs look great. I don't know what's happening. I can't fix this. I don't know. I'll send you to a specialist. We'll run a test. We'll do an MRI. We'll run a stress test on your heart. We'll draw your blood. We'll have you spit in a cup a couple of times a day. I'll have you collect all your pee for 24 hours. We'll do all this stuff and we'll try and figure it out. But I don't know what's wrong with you. And I did this system and all of that changed. So, elephant in the room. Now, is my health perfect? No. I've had 20 broken bones. I have a lot of pain. I have a gut that got destroyed from years of abuse. So I have to fix it, right? But if I get the elephant out of the room, all of those symptoms that I was carrying in, and I come back with a small list of symptoms, now the doctor can go, if they need to, and say, oh, hey, now we can focus and we can figure out what's left over. Is it going to cure everything? No. Is it going to give you 95% of your health back if you do it consistently and pay attention to what you're eating? Probably. So, you guys, I'm not going to make any wild claims or tell you, that I'm going to guarantee you. The only thing I'm going to guarantee you is that you will feel better and that your A1C will go down in 90 days, or you get your money back. How many doctors have you gone into and they said, ooh, your labs look great, but I don't know how to help you, but here, take a pill. And 90 days later, you come back in and, doc, the pill did nothing for me. Can I get my money back? Nope. Never happened. You get your money back if you're not happy with this, regardless. Like, look, we want your A1C to go down. But if at 90 days you're just like, this just isn't for me, you can still get your money back. You call the company and say, hey, I didn't like it. You give them the lot number off the boxes, boom, they send you your money back. Is that reasonable? Now, the other thing is when you start to feel better, like I felt better, you can start to refer people. When people ask you what you're doing, I want to do it too. And you give them the code that you get when you, just like I got, when you order, you give that to your friend and they order. Now they're attached to you and you get a $10 credit every time they order. So now it could impact your, 5 people, $50 difference in your cost every month. Or or you can do what I did. Like, this is something I can get behind. It changed my life. I know it can change other people's lives too. And I want to help people. And I want to help myself because I need to make money and I need to take care of my life and be able to be there for my grandson. And guess what? I'm able to make more money helping people every day and just sharing my story and talking about the stuff I love to talk about. Um, and taking some calls and answering some questions, but I make more than I did working for 2 different medical jobs at the same time. I would go to work at one job, come home, train, go to my next job, go home, shower, put my scrubs on, go to the next job. 6 days a week. And I was struggling to survive. Now I moved from Washington State out to Maryland, replaced everything in my home. I took my suitcase and a couple of boxes, replaced everything else when I got there because I was no longer living in poverty and my heart was full and I was helping people. And then when my son and that beautiful grandson moved from Maryland to Kentucky, I packed up and moved here. Now, if I had a regular job, I couldn't do that. If I had a regular job, and part of the problem is with him, with this disorder, he has some times where he's very emotionally distraught. Um, his body cannot process fats. So he will have some very emotional days. And his mom will call me and say, hey, Kenny needs Nana today. And you know what? Instead of me sitting at a desk and going, oh, shoot, I'm up in Cincinnati working and I got 4 more hours to work at this clinic before I can come home because I can't clock out early. I can be like, oh, shoot, I work from home. That boy needs me. Nana's on the way. Nana's on her way. That's the life I want. I want to work. I want to earn. I want to help people. I want to be there for my family. I wasn't able to do it before. I can do it now. So it's not just about making a car payment for me or taking a vacation for me. Like, the road trip is great. It's going to be fun. We're going to the Badlands. We're going to the wind caves. We're going to a mammoth site. We're going to a lot of places that I think teenagers would love. I get to do that. And guess what? When I'm gone, I will have 2 things for my business. I will take my tablet and I will take my phone. And I get to work from the road. I could go live at Mount Rushmore if I want to. I could create a video at Mount Rushmore and teach some people about something. I get to live life on my terms and help people while I'm doing it. If you want to live that way too, or if you're interested in how you can help your income or replace your income, let me know. I can show you how easy it is. And we have tons of support and we have a lot of people who are able to do just what I'm doing. Because when we look at the billions of people in the world and the people that I can reach, I can't reach them all. And 93% of our population is suffering from insulin resistance. I need help. You guys, I need help. So if you're wanting to get your health back, get your health back. And then if you're wanting to be like, hey, I want the other part too, get a hold of me. And let's get you feeling better and flying better financially. So you guys, I'm going to go. We'll be back tomorrow. If there's something you would like me to cover, I know that Jazz gave me a bunch of ideas here and I have some stuff to look up. We'll come back and talk tomorrow. And you guys, every time I hear something from one of these doctors that I trust, Dr. Yao, Dr. Lee, Dr. Fung, Dr. Bickman, I try to bring it back to you guys. I listen to hours of stuff so that I can bring it to you guys and so I can understand and then help you better. I appreciate you. You guys have hung out with me for a long time tonight. And I really appreciate that you trust me so much that you were here and joined in for all this. Now, what I want you, before I go, all the amazing stuff, okay? I'm going to ask you one more question. But I want to make a statement first. You guys, one thing I know, is if we want to change in life, something has to change. We don't walk down the same path to the same destination every day and expect massive change. If you're tired and you're sick and you're frustrated and you just want to feel better, you get me to help you. You get a 90-day money back guarantee, literally no risk. The only risk is when you don't start and you look back. You know how many people I've had that said, I listened to you for a year before I decided. I listened to you for 3 months before I decided. I wish I would have started sooner. If I would have started a year ago, all the things I could have done, how much better I would have felt, how much I wouldn't have wasted that year. Like, they're like, I can't believe I waited so long. Guys, there's a guarantee. It's no risk. The only risk is not getting started and not helping yourself. And I'll be right there with you. And again, if I don't know something, I'm going to do the damnedest I can to find out and help you out. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Not sure what time I'll be on tomorrow. My life is chaotic right now, but I appreciate you. Reach out to me if you want me to talk about something specific, or we'll just come back tomorrow and talk some more about all of this stuff. Whatever I learned, I'll pass it on to you. All right. Have a great night, you guys. On TikTok, if you're commenting in here, once this live is done, I can't see those messages. Facebook, YouTube, I can absolutely see your messages later. So please leave them. I try to come back and answer. Use the links. I'm going to put it in again over here. If you don't know where to find it on TikTok to get a hold of me, to order whatever, just reach out. Because I'm not spammy. I'm not going to harass you. I'll give you the information you need. We'll have some good conversation, and hopefully we'll get you feeling better, and you'll get to come on. I didn't get to have Jason or those guys come on tonight, but Jason, by the way, who I need to get his picture. I said I was going to go, and it's 2 a.m. and I should be going. I want to find his picture because I want to show you this guy because he popped in. I don't think he's here still. This is Jason. He's now down 200 pounds. His doctor wanted him to do bariatric surgery. His doctor wanted him to do those injections. His doctor wanted him to do all kinds of stuff that he knew was unhealthy for him. He had that A1C at 13.3 that's now 4.7. Now, you could just fast and change your food and that would work. Jason's going to tell you, F you. At that point he was at, that was not a possibility for him. He talked to me. We had some good conversation. He decided to give it a shot, and his whole life has changed because he's feeding his body what it needs and not abusing it anymore. All right, you guys, we'll talk to you later. Have a great night.